Our scripture reading this morning is just one verse from the Psalms, Psalm 35, verse 13. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom. Have you considered fasting during this Lent? Either to stay away from certain foods or liquids, or perhaps from playing games online, or to quit belittling yourself aloud in your head, or maybe to stop checking the phone for new messages every half hour. The possibilities are seemingly endless. Here we are again in Lent, one of the two specifically designated times throughout the year that aims at our spiritual growth. The other one is Advent. Together with the outer spring cleaning, we want to embark on an inner cleansing. We really want to get our feelings and emotions under control that so easily can otherwise run havoc in our lives if we let them go unrestricted. If you raised children and had them go on a sugar feast at a family event while being unattended, you have seen how certain foods can trigger certain behaviors. A little charm munchkin all of a sudden can turn into a little maniac or fall emotionally apart, or both. But how about that fasting really means fasting from food in general, not just the sweets or not just the cake, but altogether for a while. I came across this first time in my early 20s, and for sure would have remained in utter disbelief myself if the sister of my friend hadn't done it for a whole week and a half. Mia, my friend, and I, we looked at each other and we said we wanted to try it ourselves as well. And so we did. The first 2 days were really, really tough. We were always just thinking of food, and, we always just wanted to go to the fridge to look if there was not just a teeny weeny little bit to grab. But the hunger really stopped after 2 days. All of a sudden, I noticed that an unexpected calmness came over me. The hunger basically vanished, and I was not frantically thinking about, oh, what am I going to cook today, and what am I going to shop for tomorrow, and oh, what could we eat for the weekend, and what cake could I make or something. That all vanished. And I all of a sudden realized I became really calm. It's like a calmness that when you fill your stomach on a regular basis, morning, lunch, and dinner, you cannot experience that. And it's really strange. I really had that realization only through having chosen that sentence. And I remember the time when I was working at a company. It was always long hours, and I basically hadn't time much to go eat because I needed to get so much stuff done. And it was easy, and I started to only eating once a day, and that was in the evening. I always just ate once a day, and I got a ton of work done each and every day, and it was really easy. I didn't have to slave on it or something. It just that little it came to me. So it came with great benefits that my stomach for the most time was really empty. It cleared my mind that I could concentrate on what was at hand, and that I could be very successful in it. It may seem that we deprive ourselves, but in reality we give ourselves the freedom to really experience what we all can do when we do not live on an eating schedule of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all the times in between when we feel we need something too. So it became a habit of mine, and I did it for years, and I did not realize that. And the other people always ask me, Connie, how are you doing that? I said, why? What are you talking about? I just I just did. And I realize now, and I did not realize it back then, that the issue was that I just ate once a day. And I am apt to find out what it will do to me if I go back to that schedule. And I really want to try to find out. But let's look what the real sermon is about. um, so I did that with my friend for those 2 days. And I realized when I all of a sudden became calm, because I didn't have to think about the food anymore or the shopping or whatnot, um, that I was not aimlessly drifting about in life. I was focused. I was focused because I wanted to do certain things. It was a time when I had a schedule at university where I sometimes had to be there at 10, sometimes at 8, sometimes from noon to nighttime, and it was always changing. So I always had leisurely free time if I hadn't had to do homework, and but I made them purposeful, and that was a weird thing. I did not just let them, oh, I could, just who knows what. I became more driven to take advantage of the time and to use it in a productive manner. The serenity within that week just intensified as fasting proceeded. And I need to say, I was really clear in my head and also of good cheer. You are in a good mood. You're not in a bad mood. For whatever reason, it's almost as if bad moods come more from food and digesting too slowly the thoughts that come into our mind together uh, with the food or whatever, then um, but I was not holding on to things. It was like I got into a state of real being. And that beingness translated into a serenity and a better productivity. So um, I can understand why people are now opting for intermittent fasting. I bet they found out that they in reality now become much more serene when they go that way about life and their eating habits than stuffing themselves 3 times a day. And I never wanted to do that when I was a child. I didn't ever want to have breakfast. I didn't want to take anything to school with me. But my brother, he told my mom that I threw away my food into the trash, and then my mom said, "And you eat here at home?" And I didn't like that. I did not like that at all. And I'm still not really the breakfast person, other than on weekends when it's really nice, so you can have breakfast with somebody else together and you can take your leisurely time, and then I like it. But if it's like, you know, rush it in and go out the door and move to school or to work or whatever, it's not pleasant. So but fasting is also fasting from other things, just food. But fasting from food can help us to open up the doorway to fasting from other foods, from other things as well. I do believe that for me, fasting can be a tool um, to also abstain from other behaviors. I was never really attracted to going online that much and using my phone excessively, other when I play maybe Sudoku. But even that is, even that sucks you in. And sometimes we just have to see how much time is wasted that where we could think productive thoughts. And I'm not just talking about work, but what we want from life. If we as metaphysicians, we believe we create our own destiny, our own life through that which we think. So if we, instead of filling our mind mindlessly with the games that we play, with the social medias that we think we're gonna have to reply to immediately and so forth, when we think those thoughts, what we really want to accomplish, and we think them over and over again, we start identifying with it. We're gonna have to pretend in our heads that we are it already. And then we eventually will become so convinced, yeah, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make this happen. And then we are putting the steps in more and more. And things will fall in place, that opportunities all of a sudden open up to us, that bring us exactly that which we are so daring to accomplish. So if you have a dream, you hold on to your dream, but not, you put it not far away, to the ceiling. Oh yeah, maybe one fine day. No, you're gonna have to work on it. And I get there. I get there. I know I get there. And this is my first step. I believe that I will get there. And you will see that proceeding and taking the first steps will move you to the next step and the next step and the next step. And this is how we accomplish. We did not ever accomplish anything because it fell to us from the sky. We first had the idea, we wanted to accomplish it, we went for it, and we got it. So we have to have our dreams, and fasting might be just the perfect way to open that doorway, that we take charge of our own dreams and take them serious and reach out to God and say, listen, I want to accomplish this. I have no clue yet how I'm going about it, but you give me the ideas in the right time of how I am going to proceed. And I know we can do it together, and I know you're my best partner in it. And we can do it. And with it, we also, when we combine it with that fasting, we have the serenity, and then you all of a sudden do not doubt anymore. Now, when we eat our sweets in between and we have our sugar rush and we want our sugar rush, I feel that my doubt comes in when I go on a binge. Then everything is out of the you can forget about that, Connie, that never will happen, or yaddy daddy, and we talk ourselves out of it. But if we stay focused and if we send out the right thoughts and we move on with the intuition that is planted in our hearts, then we really can accomplish whatever we want. But we have to believe, and that is our task, the belief. The belief has to come from us. You never accomplish, nobody of us ever accomplished anything without that belief. Realize that. And we can do it over and over again. So even if a complete fast is not to your liking, and it does not need to be, try intermittent fasting. Try just eating once a day. And we also know that, for example, when a medium never would have a heavy dinner or something like that before giving messages or a reading, you cannot connect to spirit. It just doesn't work. And that is also why meditation after the break, before breakfast, is the breaking the fast. Before we start eating in the morning, it's the best time to meditate. We are coming sort of out of a situation where we are one with God, where we are sleeping, where we are relaxed, and we are taking that into our awake state. into our conscious awake state. So we can take all these tools to make everything really easier on us and to bringing forth our dreams, and with it also God's will, because God will wants everything good for us. So if we want good for us, He doesn't want us to say, "Oh, I do not want her to get that dress." You know, that would not be the right thing. But I could say, well, I want her to have the dress, and I want to find an even prettier one for myself. We could basically do something like that. We do not need to be saints to be to deserve the goodness that God wants to give us, but we need to work on it. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in our connection, and that we are worthy of receiving. So many religions all over the world emphasize fasting in one way or another. And in general, fasting means an abstention from food. But as we already have seen, fasting can include many other things as well. Adele Calhoun writes in her Spiritual Disciplines Handbook, fasting is an opportunity to lay down an appetite for food, for media, for shopping. This act of self-denial may not seem huge. It's just a meal or a trip to the mall, but it brings us face to face with the hunger at the core of our being. Fasting exposes how we try to keep empty hunger at bay and gain a sense of well-being by devouring creature comforts. Through self-denial, we begin to recognize what controls us. Our small denials of the self show us how little taste we actually have for sacrifice or time with God. Fasting, therefore, can bring us more clarity where we are hung up in unhealthy behavioral patterns and therefore enhance our consciousness. From the experience with my friend Mia, I know that it is at times easier to commit together to a fast than by doing it all by ourselves. So if you find a comrade to do that with you, it's all the better, because then we can hold each other accountable. Sometimes it's not that easy. We can talk with each other and get over the hump to continue, and it really helps. After that, I had done several fasts. I even told my dad, and my dad became a person who regularly did fasts, and he started. My dad loved food. He loved food. I mean, in the literal sense. And but he enjoyed fasting. He enjoyed the freedom that it gave him. He enjoyed that he all of a sudden could go up the stairs and down much faster, and that his knees didn't hurt. And it was like he did this for many years, and I was very proud of him. But the nicest thing is, I think, that the monkey mind in us is just quieting down. For whatever reason, we are then really become more and more, or we get more and more into a state of beingness. Our scripture states that, I quote, "I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom." Now, what does that mean? I do believe it depicts that I become all of a sudden one with my prayer in my heart again. I become congruent, and I am congruent with the divine within. And my prayers are heard because they are hitting ground in my heart immediately. And I do not reach to God outside of me. I'm just talking to myself, basically. I reach within myself, and I can um, speak directly, basically to my higher self. And that means I have sort of become whole again. And that is the beauty of fasting and what it can bring to us. It is all about oneness, oneness with ourself and with our Creator. Before I wrote this sermon, as I said before, I for sure have not put the dots of my very own experiences together. But I'm glad that I was led to do exactly that verse today, so I can use it for my very own life again. I will definitely try to go onto that evening fast again and to see what it does for me throughout the day. And and that is just, yeah, it's just a precious thing to live through. So let's wrap up one more time. Lent is the traditional time in the Christian year when people fast for a few days or a few weeks, either on food or on liquids or on behaviors. And whoever fasted before may have made some interesting experiences like I did. Um, and we can use this time to get to a much better connection to our higher self, that we can get our dreams moving again, and that we are not feeling oppressed by what is happening in our lives right now, but that we have a feeling and a sense that our life is in our own hands and under our control and not somebody else's. What we think is really just our job. It's really our freedom to think it, to express it, and to live it. And nobody can tell you that you cannot become a superstar if you want to become a superstar, right? Nobody can take that, but you got to see it. You got to know it in your heart that you become that, and you say, Spirit, you guide me. I want, and I choose that for myself. And if you have a clear desire and you go for your desire, you will accomplish. You always accomplish. So don't stop yourself short. Once you have accomplished, you just have a new dream. You have to have always a dream what to go for. You cannot just go idle and wait that a beautiful dream comes to you. You're gonna have to seek out a new dream. All right? I mean, there are dreams that we always want to have, that we always have love in our family, that we always have peace in our family, that we always have this and that. That we can always, put into our prayers. And we can call it forth through that also. So our dreams are our job, and we have to hold steadfast onto them, and we can have to further them with our fasting.